We're live. Oh, not yet. Go live. Going live.
Going
live.
Good. We actually hit the go button.
We did.
Did it.
And now comes the time where I stretch and go, and now I fall asleep.
You had a coffee.
I have. I've had a coffee. I'm fine.
You
I'm
coffeed
fine.
specifically to avoid this.
Yes, I did. And now I'm not going to be. Now I'm not the mega sleepy boy. Right. Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? We're on time. We're not on time. We're late, but we're here. We're fine. Press play on the tape. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, that, I guess. Good, right. Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? We are doing okay. So, yes.
We are
open with
going live.
Going live at this quality, at that bit rate, or something like that.
Over there.
Are you enjoying the lovely Indian summer? Yeah, it's.
I don't know what makes it Indian specifically.
Indian summer is a late summer, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, but that just seems to be just. We've been having Indian summers as long as I can remember. So yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't that just make it summer?
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's me.
And anyway, but yes, by the clock you were just right. Oh, okay, it's 15:50 here, so yeah. Anyway, looks like you're sitting in front of a green screen.
Wow.
You know too much.
You will be dealt with.
Yeah. It's. I was.
Oh, there's an unfortunate white box right in the edge of the frame.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was watching a. I don't watch. Are you familiar with Steve Mould?
No.
Steve Mould is a British science YouTuber. Yeah.
Maybe.
You've probably seen him, but just don't know him by name or something like that. But at any rate, I was watching one of his videos, and he did a Technology Connections gag where he did that, and through the magic of buying two of them, I have one that I can take apart, and he did it while green screened in front of the Technology Connections set.
Oh, nice.
And this joke is twice.
Oh, yeah. No, I do know.
So
them,
he did that gag. He was like, through the magic of buying two of them, you know, what with the Technology Connections set behind him, and he said, and that's the first time I've ever used a green screen. And this joke is twice as funny because of how much Alec has to convince people that his set is not a green screen. So it's it was kind of twice as funny.
Yes, I follow them on TikTok.
Oh really? Oh okay, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I've been aware of their existence for a while, but I've just for some reason or other I've just never wanted to go watch them. But
yeah,
I got suckered in by a good-looking thumbnail and a good-looking topic because he had a look at a perpetual motion simulator, which was an interesting way of describing it. It's a device it was a marble machine that's supposed to look like a perpetual motion machine, but has in fact got an electric magnet in it, and it's designed to look like the real thing, but just for a novelty toy kind of thing.
Yes.
And he was talking about how it worked basically, but I got suckered in because he obviously wasn't trying to bill it, but I wanted to see how he was framing it, and I liked the term perpetual motion simulator to describe a machine that's supposed to look like perpetual motion while everyone being aware that it is not in fact perpetual motion.
We've had computer building simulator. We've had power wash simulator. Get ready for perpetual motion simulator.
Yes, perpetual motion machine, batteries not included. Yes, it was a great video. It was, yeah, it was very cool. It was an interesting one that, I mean, it was fairly simple in the end, but it was nifty. It was cool. So
yes, I got into them because on TikTok at least there were lots of snippets of them seemingly kind of building water-based analogs for other technologies using like buckets and stuff. And I was just like, this is an interesting way of differently demonstrating these concepts.
Yes, because he built the water computer and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that's how I initially got into that, and I was just like, this is interesting. I wonder if they do similar interesting analogies for other things.
Yes. Yep. Audio sounds a bit low bit rate compared to usual. More sound baffles. we're on different microphones. These are the DJI microphones. However, we haven't done a lot of testing with them. We did sound check before just to make sure that we were coming through, but it's kind of hard. All we were really able to do was put the levels to where we thought sounded right, and then do a quick recording and listen back to it and be like, that sounds fine to me. But I think we won't really know until we've actually, because it's very difficult to do a real sound check.
Yeah. One thing I do want to just double check in OBS.
Yeah.
Is that we don't have. Oh no, that's fine.
Oh, there's not a second hot mic somewhere or something.
Yeah, but also just we weren't on a sample rate of like 19 kilobit or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
We should probably have whatever that is muted. I think that's the capture card, but yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, all of your sound sources should be muted unless you know exactly what it is.
Unless it's actually the one you're using.
Yes. But yes, even if the bar on it is not bouncing, just mute it because you don't know when it might suddenly spew audio that you weren't expecting. Anyway.
Hello, JD. You are here. Welcome.
Yeah. So yes. We'll still need to do some testing with these mics just to see how stuff sounds.
Yes. The other thing we'll need to double check is I know we were still outputting it 4K. And YouTube does not like that because we don't have the bitrate.
Yeah, that's true. So it's possible that YouTube is crushing the audio.
There's possibly misconfigurations effectively just because of that.
Yeah, because when we did our sound check, we did that just by hitting record in OBS. So that does not account for if YouTube is crushing the audio. We won't know until we listen to it back and go, yeah, no, that's how it was supposed to sound. You guys, or we might listen to it and be like, oh God, something was definitely wrong there. But yeah. So yes. Anyway, so yes. Hello from Algeria. How to program SIO chips? Super I/O chips. Oh, that's a minefield. I am not qualified to answer that question. However, see, I know who is qualified to answer that question, but I'm always pained as to whether I'm going to send people his way or not.
I mean, is that a thing that is, bad caps?
Yeah, you could go to go to the Bad Caps forum and ask that question. Or failing that, if you jump on the Adamant IT Discord and ask nicely in the tech channel, then in
the support channels.
Yeah, or in the support channels, then either Lead Farmer or Wild Floor Lamp might get back to you on that one if they have the time, because Lead Farmer and Wild Floor Lamp are the two people I know who are qualified to answer that question on programming Super I/O chips, or what is basically the EC. So yeah. What's the plan for today? Today we're mostly we're waffling today, quite frankly. We don't have anything specific to do.
We're present. And you get to join us.
Indeed. Yeah.
Feel honoured.
Yeah. We're basically going to waffle today and just look at stuff. Might start doing a little bit of might do some more tinkering for the freezer mount design.
Yes.
If we want to talk about that, because at the end of last week we'd come to the conclusion of we need to design a mounting harness for the freezer, and I might start having a look at that. But I don't know how I feel about basically I was going to get some different design software because I'm familiar with Blender, but Blender is like the Photoshop of 3D, whereas in Photoshop, if you try and adjust something on a numerical pixel value, Photoshop really doesn't like doing that. With Photoshop, you do everything in Photoshop by eye. Like if you want to make a square on Photoshop that is exactly 100 by 100 pixels, that's actually very difficult to do and manipulate.
I see.
Whereas by comparison, something like Fireworks is very good at manipulating per pixel basis because that was originally designed for website design kind of thing.
I see.
Which is why I like Fireworks. And Blender is like the Photoshop of 3D design in a sense of it's very difficult to just type in, I want this to be exactly this wide values.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so for me, I feel like I should be using something other than Blender for designing stuff intended for 3D printing. And so I looked up FreeCAD today, and I installed FreeCAD, opened it up, and was just like, and I thought, because I know Blender, I thought I would be able to, I would see a lot of familiar controls in FreeCAD.
Things would look vaguely familiar.
And I looked around, I was like, I have no idea what to do. I have no idea how to start. There was no there was no insert cube thing, you know, there was no just add mesh, you know, to give me something in the view to start manipulating. And like, obviously I was missing the control center, but I just could not find that control. So I actually have no idea how to get started in that without looking up a tutorial. Whereas with Blender, with Blender it was very, you could just do add cube, and now you have a cube, and you're like, oh cool, now I have a cube that I can rotate and change the size of it and stuff like that, you know. And
I remember trying to do stuff with Maya back in the day, like 2004 kind of time, which was like some sort of modeling software.
Yeah, Maya is modeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maya is. I think it's still. Is Maya still the thing to use? It was very hot before Blender came along. Blender made 3D modeling accessible to the masses. Before that, it was Blender. But before that, it was Maya, basically. Before we just go on, S Thorn, thank you very much for the $10. Just watch the Xbox video. Do you have any low melt solder? That would make your life easier. I don't, and I need to get some. Wild Floor Lamp keeps bashing me over the head saying, low melt solder, buy some low melt solder. And I'm like, yes, sensei. You know? So, yeah.
And then you don't do it.
No. I'll think about it. So yes, I will buy some low melt solder. But yes, thank you very much for the $10. Much appreciated. I'm going to buy some low melt solder, and also I think it's time for a new hot air station as well.
Have you actually got a source? I forgot the word source.
A supplier.
A supplier for true, real low melt solder. That's actually the materials it says it is.
Yeah, that's why I haven't got any yet, because the last time I tried to buy some, the stuff that I bought, it was advertised as low melt and was not low melt.
Yeah.
Because when I actually put it to the test, I actually tested it to see how hot I started my soldering on like 70 degrees, and then just started increasing the temperature until it could melt it. And it started melting at like 120 or something like that, and that's just regular solder. So yeah, or regular leaded solder. So yes, I need to talk to Wild Floor Lamp and be like, bro, where can I buy some from in the UK? Because he tends to know these things. No melt solder, indeed. So yes, but yes, much appreciated. Much appreciated for the $10. I'm gonna get some. And I will put that $10 toward it in a very roundabout way.
Yes.
So
very
yes,
good.
Thank you very much. South Park still uses Maya. Interesting. I'm surprised they don't use. Well, I didn't know Maya. Yeah, I suppose it could. Yeah, I didn't know Maya could be used for 3D environmental rendering and stuff. But I guess it can. Yeah. Yeah, because that's the other difference of something like Blender versus something like FreeCAD. FreeCAD is designed for making a model that is a part. It is part design software, whereas Blender is 3D animation software, which is the other reason why Blender is arguably not appropriate for designing stuff for 3D printing. It just so happens to be able to do that. It can be used as such. So yeah. Normally is 183. Oh, it might have been like 170, 180. I can't remember. Either way, this I can't remember. The point is, it melted at the same temperature as my regular solder. So yeah. Maya is 3D animation in games. Yeah. 3ds Max is the architectural variant for 3D animation from Autodesk. 3ds Max is probably the one I was thinking about from that perspective. Then, yeah. But yeah, so you said you had a play with Maya, yeah. Yeah,
very, very basic. You know, this was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And just kind of being like, this is an entirely new world of things.
Yeah.
And ideas and stuff, and just
Yeah.
I played around with that for a little bit. I was just like, I don't know what I can do with this. Yeah, if that makes sense. There was no end goal. There wasn't anything that I could really kind of see to do with it. But I was just like, this is a thing you can.
If you want to
move
learn
models around and
something,
do
you need
things.
to have something. You need to have an objective in mind. Well, for me, when I want to learn something, I need to have an objective in mind.
Yeah.
And like for me, the reason why I learnt Blender, or at least basic blendering, so fast was I wanted to make a custom avatar for VR chat. And so I took a base and then modified that into a custom avatar. And
I made sure to have 10,000 polygons for your circle.
Well, first of it was the opposite, because the base that I purchased was hilariously unoptimized. And because like the character had little flowers in the hair, and I was like that had been added based on the design. I was like, oh, that's really cute. That was nice of the dude who made the base. That was nice of him to add those in. They were 600 polygons each per flower, and there was like 20 flowers, and I was like, So just immediately I was like, oh boy, we got to fix that. So that was my incentive for learning Blender, so I could just optimize this avatar that looked like what I wanted, but was just hysterically unoptimized.
That's
wild.
wild.
But yes, just add more CPU. You can't when it's VR chat. VR chat is so badly optimized that if you want performance, you have to really crush the avatars. But on the flip side, the community has become really good at making highly optimized shaders, so you can get good-looking visuals out of comparatively very low poly models. So yeah.
I need to look at the pipeline again, effectively, to kind of to reacquaint myself with kind of all the render steps and stuff for traditional raster side, just because I'm like, I know what these things are, but I'm also like, I can't remember which bits do what, in the sense of I can't remember which bit of the GPU is doing which bit, and which bit is the bit where you're like, just vomit loads of these out there and who cares, we've got 10 billion things in a GPU doing this. You'll never tap it out. And other things where you're like, no, have 2 on the screen at one time.
And this is an interesting thing when using VR chat as an example. By the way, Duma, no, we've not roasted Unity yet. It's going to come up in conversation at some point. I don't know if we've got anything to add to it, but I'm sure
I have no commentary.
Fair enough. Anyway, VR chat is a very interesting one of these because of the way that it ranks avatars. Low poly avatar, a cube. You say that, Duma. There was a horror game called Garten of someone or other, and it's a Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff.
I thought it was actually the newest FNAF. If we're talking about...
if it is, I did not realise.
The button.
The button cube, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was the latest official Five Nights at Freddy game.
I didn't know that. I thought it was a knockoff.
My source from that is you saying, lol, look at this from the latest Five Nights at Freddy's game.
No. I intend, when I said that, I meant it as Five Nights at Freddy's-esque, or Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff. Or
Understood.
Five Nights at Freddy's bandwagon.
Understood.
Anyway, there was a Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff game. And at some point you acquire what is basically, it's supposed to be a remote control. It's a cube with an antenna and a button on it. And once you've acquired this, it is on screen as in the player's hand for the rest of the game. It cannot be put away. And it has 200,000 polygons for a cube with a round button and an antenna. And it's difficult to understand how it was possible to accidentally make something so poorly optimized. Like, there's no reason to deliberately make it unoptimized, but like, I don't understand how he did that by accident. By he, I mean the dev, because I do not
somewhere.
And for those of you who've never done any 3D modeling, I was curious. I made a mock-up of the same object in Blender, and I did it gratuitously in 9,000 polygons, and I could have done it in 900 if I was trying.
Is it
So 200,000, that gives you an idea of just how awful that is, you know.
Is it possible? I'm trying to work out, like, effectively, were there hidden objects in it, effectively?
Kind of. It looked like it was trying, because the top of the antenna is a half sphere, whatever you call that.
A hemisphere?
A hemisphere, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. It's possible that whatever they were using, whatever modeling software they were using, they literally just put in add hemisphere, and the modeling software tried to do the most highly accurate simulation of a hemisphere that it was capable of. Whereas, for example, whereas if you were actually optimizing, you would actually use what's called a I've forgotten the name of it now. I can't. But there's a name for a sphere that is based on pentagons, I think, either pentagons or hexagons, and it makes something that will smooth into a very that the shader can smooth into a very spherical shape, but because it doesn't have a point and thus does not have segments, it is extremely poly efficient for the amount of smoothness it provides. And that's what you would actually use in reality when you were trying to optimize. So yeah, cube should only be 12 triangles. It had a hemisphere on top of it, Paul Daniels, and that's where a lot of it went into. And also, the antenna was the stickler. The antenna was a cylinder with a hemisphere blob on top of it. So the cylinder is obviously circular to an extent, and then the hemisphere is circular with segments around it. And anything that is circular or spherical is extremely inefficient for polygons. So yeah. So yes. So at any rate, it was hilariously inefficient. I can't remember how we got onto this topic now.
Learning new 3D software for
that's right.
printing for the freezer.
Yeah, but at any rate, so yeah, VR. So that was the thing. So yeah, VR chat is very poorly optimized, and the interesting thing about VR chat is the avatars have a rating system, and like there's rating for how many materials it's using, how many meshes it has, how many polygons it has, how much V memory it takes up, the total download size for it, and so on. And all of these parameters need to be within a certain amount to qualify as either good, medium, low, or good, medium, poor, or very poor, with very poor being unlimited. So this is outside of the scope of every other scope. And so the fun part of learning is to try and get down into those. But the interesting thing is that some of them are more important than others. And like realistically, for example, people have discovered that you can actually blow past the polygon limits because not all of those polygons, not all of them might be visible at the same time. Like if you have a character that has outfit changes, each of their outfits will be might be a separate mesh. And any outfit that they're not wearing is a mesh that is disabled. So when you take the total polygon count of the model, including all of the outfits, it might be like 100,000, which is a very poor. However, if they're only wearing one outfit, like 70,000 of those 100,000 polygons might be disabled at any given time, so they're not being rendered.
But does disabled actually mean not rendered, not in memory?
Not rendered.
Yeah.
And technically it would be in memory, but polygons don't take up memory. Textures do. So if the texture is not loaded, then it is not.
Okay. It being associated with a model does not mean it is still using resources.
Correct. Yeah.
Just because obviously that's the other thing as well. Is the fact of just because it's not physically on screen doesn't mean it's not actually still part of the render budget.
It is not being rendered because then when you enable if you do an outfit change, so you enable a new mesh, that then initiates a draw call to enable that mesh and apply the texture to it and load the texture into
Fair
memory.
enough. Okay. And flushes the old one.
Presumably. I hope so. Yeah. So yeah. So that's the game, is that you have these limitations, but if you understand how draw calls work and how mesh is being enabled or disabled, it technically means that though you have these limits, you can have a very poor rated avatar that actually performs very well because the person who made it understands what parts of that are actually being rendered at any given time.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. But then you get some people who just don't give a crap. And I have been in VR chat worlds where someone has loaded in with an avatar that is 700 megs of VRAM. I'm not joking. And when I enabled their avatar, I literally dropped 10 FPS. And in VR chat, when you're struggling to maintain 50 FPS at a given time, that's a lot, you know? So, yeah. And I was immediately like, oh, I'm just disabling that avatar straight away. You get to be default robot, my friend. Because, of course, because they didn't give a crap, they didn't have a good fallback either, you know? So, yeah. Anyway. So that was where I was going with that. Knowing the pipeline is very interesting from that perspective, because it allows you, because even if you don't understand like shader pipelines and stuff like that, there are some basics you can learn about to get an understanding of how game performance works at a very low level without understanding the full pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
It's the thing that seems to be very interesting is how performance affects
Icosphere. Thank you, Mivanon. Icosphere was the sphere that I was talking about. And Icosphere is made up of hedrons. Please continue.
Okay. Very good.
It was hurting me, and I saw the word, and I was like, yes.
I will not remember this word.
That's fair.
What was I saying? Yes. About alpha effects. Completely tanking performance on like the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
When you say alpha, do you mean alpha transparency?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Them completely tanking performance and having to be like quarter or eighth or
Really?
16th res to not completely murder the performance on those consoles.
Interesting.
And it appeared, and from the little I was able to glean, it was memory bandwidth related for the effects, apparently, which was just interesting. But that's, goes back to a statement that's been made about consoles since the time of day.
Yeah.
Since the before times of just the fact of consoles are so bandwidth starved, it's untrue.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting. It'd be interesting to. I've never really thought of looking at memory bandwidth on old console specs to see how that compares. Because now and then I've seen old console games where I've been like, wow, this game looks really good for the console it's running on. And sometimes you can see where they've made compromises in the background. Like, for example, one of my friends has been playing PS2 games in an emulator recently, and they were playing Gran Turismo 4 on the PS2. And Gran Turismo 4...
Really?
Yeah.
I thought Gran Turismo 4 was PS3.
I don't know if it got a PS3 release, but it did get a PS2 release, and it looks damn good. Like, considering it's a PS2.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's... Yeah. But when you look at it, the surrounding landscape, like the actual polygon count is relatively low. They've blown all the budget on the car textures because that's what you're looking at, the cars. And the skybox is very bland. So when you look at it, you're like, oh, you're not actually rendering a huge amount of polygons.
Yeah.
You've just blown all of your budget on the car textures, which is
absolutely
quite interesting, So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. As JD says, where cider?
Where cider? Yes, that's a good. I'm having cider. I'm going to get the last of the Perry out. We've got the dregs of the Perry.
Excellent.
I'm going to.
I was unaware of the status of the glasses.
The status of the glasses is no. I'm going to wash some glasses.
The status of the glasses is no.
And by wash, I mean... by glasses, I mean cups.
And by cups, I mean... Never mind. And by wash, I mean sprinkle in water. 5600F... No. Start that
Everyone
again.
is currently enjoying
5600X or 12400F.
Sorry.
Um...
Sorry, everyone. I was just making a lot of noise. I did not dry these. I'm going back.
Oh my god. I don't know. I would probably say 12400F for basically everything. I can't think of any situation where I'd take a 5600X over a 12400. The only thing I would is where there was like a significant overall build cost saving on the 5600X. Just because the 12400 will be fractionally faster in multi-threaded and then like actually faster in single threading.
Yeah. Yeah, 12400, that was a bit of a... That just didn't get cleaned properly. 12400, that was one of those sort of hidden screamers from Intel, wasn't it? Where it was like, this is actually really good at gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah.
AMD used to be much cheaper, now they're not anymore. Yeah, AMD don't have a low end, that's kind of their problem. They're just the Ryzen 3 just doesn't really exist in a meaningful way, I don't think.
Yeah, but also kind of a case of
they don't need one.
If they've decided that they're not going to have one, they've decided they're not going to have one, effectively. Yeah. And just gone, Intel can have the low end.
Yeah. Which, you know, that might be part of their strategy, is just like, oh, low end equals Intel.
Yeah. Don't worry, Paul. The 12500 is a 12400 with slightly uprated integrated graphics from memory. And possibly another 100 megahertz of boost or base clock. They're basically the same thing. Certainly, at least in the UK market, it didn't make sense to get the 12500 over the 12400, just because the price difference was huge. Yeah.
Right.
Have you successfully washed a drinks receptacle?
I have.
Congratulations. You did it.
And also blasted everyone with running water noises while you were trying to talk. Yes, approximately that. Bigger number is more better. Well, depends on which number it is that's bigger.
If the product number is a larger product number, it's generally higher up the stack. It doesn't necessarily mean it is better for the task you are asking for it to perform. There we go. That's what I meant to say. Because, like, for example, the 5600X and the 5950X, the 5950X is bigger number, but they are functionally the same for gaming. It's a bag.
It scrunched itself up a surprising amount.
Ah. Ha! I half expected it to be foil.
I guess. Right.
No, JD. No. The FX 8150 is not better than a 7950.
Ban this man.
Time this man out. Remove him. He will be boiled.
Seize him. Also, if anyone, don't say a word. Anyone who's thinking anything right now, just don't say a word. This is just how box cider and box wine works.
I am quite impressed by just, yes, the fact that it seems to, actually squeeze itself quite well.
Yeah, it didn't let in any air, so it's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Professional. I am a professional cider drinker.
I think we've had our money's worth out of that.
Now you blow it up.
Do you?
10,000 PSI.
No.
Extract every last drop.
No. Right. Do you want a bit of both, or do you want the wild elder? Are we saving the mold of what?
Yes.
We're saving the mold, aren't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Very well.
Yes, I will go for the elder.
Oh, 5.28 pints. It does say how many pints we get out of that.
Very well.
Enjoy your empty glass, Caradog. Yes.
Here is your glass. It has nothing in it. Yes.
Right. Everyone said exactly what I didn't want them to say. Although, is that not
Damn
what
it, Moeto.
when we say don't do this? It's like when a streamer says don't clip that. That's basically them just being like, ha ha ha, that was really funny. Someone clip that.
Don't super chat.
Yeah.
What's the room temperature here? I don't know. What do we guess the room temperature is today? 24?
Yeah, we haven't exactly chilled these. I'll concede that point, but
I don't know. I'm gonna use a rough approximation of a thermometer. My pocket is 32C. Therefore,
it's definitely not 32C in this room. But
therefore, we will wait for that to cool down.
all right. What do you guys think of the new Intel naming scheme? I can't remember what it was actually, wasn't it? Yeah, I remember it was dumb.
I think I withhold all judgment until actual product names are provided. Which we don't actually have product names yet.
Oh yeah, they still just like on Intel Road.
But it's basically a case of there's like Ultra and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but this means nothing to me until they're actual products.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure.
No?
I'm not sure.
No? I have not taken any.
I think it needs to be cold, is my answer to that.
Yeah.
It tastes like it needs to be cold. It's lovely, but I'm like, I'm not sure about it being
Room temp.
ambient.
Yeah. Yeah. Understand. I mean, we should stick these in the fridge anyway because we've got fridge space, but yeah. Like, will you survive?
Very good though.
Okay.
Very good though.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
I was just like, not sure.
Okay, yeah. You were making noises of I can't drink this.
Oh no. I was just like, no. This very much needs to be a cold cider.
Okay, yeah. Very well. Right. Yeah, I remember the so they had
the naming is going to seem really dumb, and also they're like binning Pentium and Celeron, which now means that the i3 is a Celeron.
Yeah. But
and i5 isn't, and now the i5 is going to be the 3, the Intel 3, not i3, the Intel 3, which is no longer i.
Core 3.
Core 3, there we go. The Core 3 will be a Pentium. The Core 5 will now be a Celeron, and the Core 7 will now be an i3. Effectively.
Sorry, the Core 3 will be the Celeron, the Core 5 will be the Pentium.
Yeah.
You said the 5 would be a Celeron.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. The 3 will be the Pentium, the 5 will be the Celeron, the 7 will be the 3, and the 9 will be the
Pentium is
5.
better than Celeron, though.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All of the stack will shift 3 tiers up,
yes.
But the name it all down, and the naming will basically disguise the fact that the Pentium is being sold as an i3 and the Celeron is being sold as an i3 or an i5.
Yes, yeah. Either way, yeah. To be honest, I feel like we're not far from that anyway, given like before we went live, we were having a conversation about something dual core i7s. And it's like, well, it's not an i7 then, is it?
I think those are all dead now.
Yeah. However, but like that's the thing is just like hypothetical, we more or less already have this situation anyway where there are super damp flannel CPUs with high badge names on them.
What?
So, so yeah. Moneto says, do you still need the small MacBook battery cells for sensors? I'm going to say no to that because I've built my new VR trackers, and at this point I'm like, I'm not going to service my old ones. So yeah, I was going to service my old ones to keep them going. However, at this point, I'm just like, no, I have no intention of servicing those now. I'm going to keep them as just emergency spares. So thank you for the offer, but no. How do you know if it has integrated graphics or not? Well,
how do you know if what's got integrated graphics or not?
The new Intel naming
Whether it has
conventions.
an F or not.
Well, they still have the F SKUs then.
They haven't said they're not going to have them.
Yeah, because like...
And they still said they're going to have the K SKUs.
Well, they are? Oh, no. I thought that the idea of the Pro thing was that it would enable them to get rid of the K SKU.
But the entire point is to have the K SKU.
But I thought Pro was going to indicate that it was the high tier, the K SKU kind of thing.
But K means unlocked and overclockable. It has nothing to do with enhanced security features or prosumer features or anything like that. It means it's unlocked and overclockable.
I just thought they were going to rope that. Yeah. I don't like it.
Pro is V Pro.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but they've got like the Ultra brand or something.
Yeah.
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 I thought Ultra was to indicate that it is the K SKU.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's dumb and I hate it. I don't like it.
Nothing to do with it.
As far as
completely unrelated.
Yeah, no, I don't. I tell you what, I don't like Intel's new naming scheme because I'm confused already. AMD is very simple. The bigger number is better. Ryzen 5, 7, 9. And there is the X to indicate the slightly higher tier variant,
Mobile.
Although the only thing, AMD obviously are not perfect with their naming schemes. Something, their GPUs have the same series names as their CPUs, but yeah.
What the hell is Intel processor?
Does a bad CPU get hot? Depends if it's shorted or not.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, yes, as Si was saying as well, underneath the 3579 set, there is also Intel processor, which is the N series, which gives you presently N97, N50, N200, N100.
Yeah. The N's are all bollocks.
Which are, as far as I can tell, complete garbage.
Yeah.
Absolute complete netbook only garbage.
Yeah, this is the this is the customer comes in saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to buy a laptop for £200 from Currys because they have them for £200." I'm like, "Okay, I'll see you next week."
Yes, the Intel N200, which is the top spec one, has 4 E-cores, as far as I understand, at 3.7 gigahertz.
Yeah, and no P-cores.
And no P-cores.
Yeah.
But its TDP is 6 watts.
Damn. Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you just need to browse the internet, yeah, that's fair. And I mean, at least it's got...
As long as you're not loading 15 megabytes of JavaScript.
Yeah, how much... Yeah, that's just it. How much CPU does the internet require these days? Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got the U series, the processor U series. Yeah. There's a U300. Oh. Yeah, U300 isn't terrible. 4 performance cores. No, 1 performance core, 6 efficient cores, 6 total threads, P-core 4.4, E-core 3.3. Oh, yeah. And it's exactly the same price.
Yeah.
Oh, but obviously 55 watt, not 6. Right.
Yeah. Does scheduling work properly now on these? Does anyone know?
Define properly.
So you've got one P core. Are intensive tasks actually going to get sent to the P core?
Please define intensive tasks. Please define intensive tasks from the point of view of a scheduler. Is it the task that is requesting the most CPU resources? Is it the one that is the most time critical? Is it the one that is of the active window?
Has anyone solved this problem already? Because I don't know the solution to that.
Which problem are you attempting to solve for? Because they're all different solutions.
Yeah. Has someone put thought into this?
Well, yes, but it depends on what answer you want.
Yeah.
Because the answer is the scheduler can't know what you want it to do. Because there's no way of you telling it. Because also it can't inspect what an individual thread is doing.
Yeah.
Specifically. So the answer is no in theory. Effectively, no, you can't solve the problem anyway.
Yeah. Because, well, that's just it then. Because, like, I don't want... because this is the issue with building a CPU this is the issue with Big Little design. I can't remember what the name for that is.
Heterogeneous.
Heterogeneous.
Yes, heterogeneous is the correct
CPU
name.
design. Yeah.
Only because Big Little is a brand name of ARM.
Yes. Yeah. So
to be pedantic.
Yeah. Heterogeneous CPU design, just simply because this is the thing. Like on at face value, it seems like a great idea. However, having one P core is worthless if it's not actually doing what it needs to do. And is that a problem that has some level of solution to it yet? And like I don't know, like I don't know the answers to that, and I'm kind of hoping that people who know more about CPU architecture and task scheduling, who do know more about this, have actually figured this out, kind of thing. That's what I'm implying, basically, because I'm very tempted to say, I feel like heterogeneous CPU design isn't working out, because Intel are doing this, and there seems to be mixed use cases, and also AMD are now running into this problem with the X3D series of processors, where they're having to do ugly hacks to make sure that games actually run on the X3D CCDs. And I think AMD's one is easier to solve because the answer to that is the game. I want the game to run on these cores. And now it's just a matter of detecting which thread is the game. And that seems like an easier solution to solve than which thread is more important, But still, this seems to be the modern crisis. Solution is to be able to set up parameters for the scheduler. I guess you could have preferences to tell it whether to prioritize. Because threads have priority levels, so you could tell it to prioritize by priority, or prioritize by whatever is demanding the most total CPU time. In which case, within a certain number of seconds, you could shift a thread onto a performance core because that thread is demonstrably asking for a lot of CPU time.
Sure, but is that a thread that you want to have performance? Because that thread could be the antivirus scan running in the background. It's using the most CPU, but it's not the web browser that's
But that's going to be running at low priority.
Right, but it's requesting the most CPU time. And if we're sorting by CPU time...
Well, you could have weights.
But that's what I'm saying. You now require each program to have weighting other than normal.
Yeah.
And almost everything launches at normal.
Yeah, but a lot of the times where this would be a problem, like background antivirus scans, those do run at low priority.
I'm just saying it would require everything
Yeah.
to notify the scheduler of its perceived importance. But then you swap to a program and make it the focused window. Does that now automatically give it a +10 to priority because it's the focus window that you're interacting with?
That seems like a good idea to me.
Okay.
That would be, again, one of the weights, So, yeah. Like, again, this is the thing, is just like, I'm kind of approaching this not in a sense of I know the answers to this, but like I'm kind of hoping that someone has actually thought about this. I would assume so, In which case, can some, I'm fishing for someone to say, yes, actually, this is a known thing, and there is a great deal of theory that has already been thought out and written down about this topic, because I sincerely hope so, kind of thing. Imagine trusting processes to use valid priority. This is true.
Yeah, that's more my point.
Yeah.
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 This is my point as to why the solution and the statement is very difficult.
Yeah.
Because it also requires you to trust every single developer of every single piece of software you'll ever run on your computer to actually request its priority effectively.
Yeah, but then...
Whereas...
I mean, again, priority is already in Windows and has been for years.
Yeah.
So, developers already have the ability to tell their programs to run at high priority, but they don't because they know that's an abuse of the system.
Right.
So
sure. So no one uses it. So all of my software pre-2023 doesn't work.
I don't think...
If that makes sense, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not asking for old software to be optimized for new hardware.
No. But I'm just saying if you use that weighting system, it means that 99% of software doesn't change anything. It means it doesn't work with any game released after released before 2027.
Yeah. However,
stuff like that. So I'm just kind of saying, obviously, all of this it makes it a very complex question.
Yeah.
And
absolutely, I understand that. But we could start thinking about this moving forward, because basically, for me, we were, as I say, we were kind of talking about this before the stream, where I was just like, is it even worth having efficiency cores? Because efficiency cores are only useful if they're being used for their intended purpose. And it's like, is anything actually using them for their intended purpose?
As far as I can tell, eCore's intended purpose is to win Cinebench benchmarks,
which isn't really very useful.
Yeah.
As
far as I can tell, that's the reason they exist. So Intel processors can pretend to be competitive or multi-threading.
CPUs built with AI accelerate. AI is a meaningless word. That's the problem there. When we start talking about weights, that's what AI is that the AI would have to be programmed with weights, and someone has to dial in those weights to figure it out. So what are those weights?
Yeah, absolutely. But as I was saying, as a tangent, talking about CPUs are built in AI accelerators, I think that is very much where we're going to go. Because look at someone will know the exact model name of the AMD CPU with the Xilinx AI accelerator in there, the laptop one. PC World has reviewed it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it does stuff like accelerates the background blur effect for like Teams and Zoom and stuff like that. It accelerates the eye tracking for in those things and stuff like that. In the same way, in a similar way to NVIDIA Studio, but it does it at 25% of the power usage and stuff like that. So it's very, very useful on those fronts. Yeah,
I was about to say, is that not done on GPU? But then on the other hand, again, if you've got a coprocessor that can do that at 200 milliwatts instead of firing up the big ass GPU to do it, then sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Here's a white paper on how MS deals with priority. Okay, that would be interesting reading then. Yeah.
But yes. What was I going to say? But yeah, I'm not saying it from the point of view of it's impossible and we shouldn't bother, but just a case of, first of all, you need to define the question you're actually asking. And what are you going to define as the thing that is actually important to get prioritized for threading?
Yeah.
Because is that going to be your foreground window? And whatever is the foreground window, therefore gets P-core priority.
Yeah, definitely.
For example.
Yeah. I think the direction I'm going in, I think the direction I'm going with is, would it not be better to just cram as many P-cores onto the CPU as you can instead? But then on the other hand, again, for mobile CPUs where power target actually is relevant, then obviously you're going to want power efficiency. But I think one of the disappointments that I wanted to mention this earlier on, but I've said this a couple of times on the podcast, but a test that I have not seen, and I think someone has linked me to it, but I forgot to watch it. But something that no one seemed to be talking about when Alder Lake came out. specifically regarding the efficiency cores was, everyone looks at power at full tilt. Everyone looks at power consumption at maximum load. What I care about is if someone is just sitting down watching YouTube videos, is the CPU using less power? Because that's the time where efficiency really matters.
Less power than a previous gen processor.
Yeah, exactly. So having the E-cores there,
ignoring all other variables and confounding factors, does it use less power
as a result of having E-cores?
You cannot make that statement.
Okay, I'll rephrase that.
Does the 12600K use less power watching a YouTube video than the 11600K?
Yeah.
Is the question you can ask.
Okay, let me reframe the question. We're trying to define what's the point of having an E-core. Well, the point of having an E-core is that you've got a core that can do simple tasks and consume less power because it's efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so therefore, let's say I have a previous gen CPU that eats 20 watts watching YouTube.
Yeah.
If I built a new generation CPU that had 4 P cores and 4 E cores,
yeah,
would that use less power watching YouTube because it delegates that to the efficiency cores? However, if I then built a new generation that had 8 performance cores, would that also be able to do it at less power, just simply because the cores are more powerful, therefore can do the same amount of work through less energy usage? Because if I can still save energy just by virtue of the fact that I have a newer CPU that can do the same work in less time, what's the point of an E-core?
Yes.
That's the thing. That's the question.
To win Cinebench benchmarks. I mean, as far as I can tell, the entire point of the E-core is to win Cinebench.
Yeah.
Because Cinebench is being used by most reviewers to show multi-thread performance.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying is that E-cores are a complete waste of time, and by that, on the desktop, heterogeneous CPU design is a waste of time. That's the only conclusion from that statement.
Certainly any current implementation of it does not seem to be overly...
Because that's what I'm gunning at in this conversation when I'm talking about scheduling and stuff like that. I'm trying to justify the reason for E-cores to exist.
Yeah. And as far as I can tell, based on limited input, because I don't have 12th or 13th gen processors, but as far as I can tell, based on limited input from watching other people's non-rigorous testing, it seems like even if you've got, the i7, especially if you've got the i7 or i9K, disable the E-cores, increase your ring clock significantly, increase the memory clock you can achieve, increase the P-core clock you can achieve, gain more performance for anything other than Cinebench.
Yeah.
As a massive oversimplification, but it seems like certainly for gaming, it seems to be a case of disable your E-cores, gain more FPS.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people have pointed out that if you're watching YouTube, then the work is being done by the GPU. Okay, sure. Some simple predictable workload that is done on the CPU then, or iGPU or something like that. You get the point. The actual work is not relevant, but a typical workload that people would do on a desktop computer. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. Because
also,
again,
the other answer
yeah.
to that is play a video back that is not hardware accelerated by the graphics card that's in the computer.
Sure.
Then it has to be on the CPU.
Yeah.
Then it is a CPU test.
Yeah. Because a really interesting test that came up, there was a Top Gear episode ages back where they did a test, and this was obviously a biased test, and it was probably flawed in other ways, and misses the point. This is
the Prius versus M5, isn't it?
The M3, but yeah.
M3.
Yeah. Basically, they had they put 2 cars around their racetrack. They had a Toyota Prius and an M3. The Prius had to gun it around the track as fast as it could. The M3 had to follow and keep up. The M3 used less fuel. Because the Prius was having to go absolutely flat out, going as fast as it could, and the M3 was just like, So it's hardly using any fuel. Now, again, obviously, this is completely missing a lot of other points and advantages of the Prius, but at face value, it raises a significant point that sometimes having something that is very overspec'd and underworking is more efficient than a very efficient thing that is working as fast as it possibly can. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. Floor test on Top Gear, no way. Yeah, but it raised an interesting question.
I think also you are with that statement conflating the use of efficiency and efficacy. Because the Prius was more efficient because it was using all of its capacity. Efficiency is a measure of how much of the capacity you are able to make use of. It was making use of 100% of its capacity, therefore more efficient.
Yes.
Its fuel usage was higher.
Yes.
Yes. Just a case of, because if we're extrapolating out into the other conversation and talking about, I have a 15-watt CPU and a 300-watt CPU, the efficiency, the overall work done between the two could be the same, but the total power usage of the 15-watt part could still be lower, but take 10% longer.
Yes.
And so on. So it's a case of, obviously, because there's a whole bunch of...
That's right, Okay, that's nuanced, because
but it's just a case of kind of, obviously, all of those parts.
I'm defining it as a fixed amount of work done and how much fuel did you use to get that amount of work done.
Yeah.
And I understand there are different ways of defining efficiency to that extent. When you define it in terms of capacity, absolutely agreed. Because
it's just a case of,
because, like, for example, in optimization, you want to get as close as possible to 100% usage, so you're not leaving unused stuff on the table.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of that measure of useful work kind of comment. So But yes, no, I entirely understand your point. From my perspective, having E-cores makes sense if you have like 6 P-cores and 4 E-cores.
Yeah.
Because as far as I understand, the 4 E-cores, the 4-core E-core cluster, is the same size as a single P-core.
Yeah.
So for a silicon space concept, it means you can fit in 4 or 8 cores for the space of 1 or 2 other cores.
Yeah.
Which then means that if you do something that splits over those cores, you gain a massive bonus because you gained 4 or 8 extra cores.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's a case of, again, it's a comment of what is the use case.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels to a degree that you can obviously make a smaller overall CPU package in like, 32 or 36 E-cores, have it do really wide tasks really well, but not do very narrow tasks overly well. And kind of thing, and it just feels like it'd be a very useful processor for certain very specific tasks, and kind of it's trying to be good for general purpose compute.
Yes,
which is like hard.
Mike's Unboxing said that the latest gen Intels are really good. They're very power efficient at idle and low usage. They get down to really low idle power levels.
Yeah,
and that's kind of exactly what I want to see from them. Is that because for a gaming computer, this isn't super relevant because the amount of idle power used is fairly irrelevant for the owner. Like, I don't care if my computer is humming away at 10 watts instead of 8 watts. That's not a meaningful power save to me.
Yeah.
However, if you're in an office block with 5,000 computers in the office, each one saving
2 watts.
2 watts. That's 10 kilowatts of power that you've just saved, which is suddenly an enormous power save.
Yeah.
So suddenly that tiny amount of power save is actually relevant. So if the E-cores are actually doing that, and again, this then comes into the question of the M3 versus the Prius, could the P-cores just chugging along at idle have also equated to the same power save just simply because they were working at lower overall usage? Because to a certain extent, to a certain extent, this is one of the things I've noticed about. I've been running a 4080 in my gaming PC over the past week, and I've noticed in more tasks that the 4080 is running at lower power because it's faster. It's using less electric to do the same work. So oh my god. I'm getting the M3 versus Prius thing, whereas because I have more overall power, I'm using less electric to do the same workload as I previously was.
Yes, because of the generational performance. The generational efficiency.
Yeah. Now,
energy per frame.
Yeah.
Increase. Yes.
And so you could say, well, if you put in a tiny little graphics card that only has a 10-watt power budget, that's going to save you power because it only uses 10 watts. I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, but also my 4080 can do the same workload in 10 watts because it's enormously powerful. And now, obviously,
I don't know. Can it? Is it possible to even power down a sufficient amount of the memory subsystem and the core to even hit 10 watts, not doing any work?
And I think that is the crux of it. Yeah.
Because
so can P cores power down that much as well?
Yeah, I've no idea.
Yeah.
But it's just a case of to add a second example of that. My 4090 and my 3090, they would idle at the desktop general 3D acceleration of the Windows desktop environment at 50 to 75 watts.
Really?
Yeah, because the core is that big that there's only so much you can do.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked, admittedly, but that seems enormous. Yeah.
But obviously, it's a case of, they're running 2 above 4K screens.
Yeah, that might be just enough workload that it's keeping the core at that certain level of activity.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's 2 4K displays.
Yeah.
3D accelerated browser, 3D accelerated desktop environment, etc., etc., etc. So I'm saying, that use case. So it's obviously the fact of if you went all the way down to like a GT 1030 instead, that could still run those displays. In theory, that would actually use slightly less power because the card's max power usage is 45 watts. Even if it's screaming at 100%.
Yeah, and therein lies. So then, if you had a scheduler that could then switch to the low power card when it only needed that, and hence we have the E-core and P-core scenario now. So again, this is why I was talking about scheduling. That's what it really comes down to. The E-cores are a good idea.
Yeah.
If we can schedule them in a way that is useful. I'm not going to try and define what useful is, but we understand the concept of useful, even if we can't define it, because my God, we're in the weeds here, and I'm just going to roll back a little bit to say, S. Thorne, thanks for the $2, much appreciated. Goodie box on the way from the States. I see. Well, thank you very much. I'll keep an eye out.
Stuff, delightful. Yeah. Thank you kindly.
Did you send? Just checking. Are you the same person that sent me that previous goodie box that had the other cool stuff in it that one time? I know this is super specific, but if the answer is yes, then it will be a case of I know who you are, because I don't get that many goodie boxes.
Are we talking about the one that was filled with sweets?
No.
Or the one that was filled with electronics parts?
The one that was filled with electronics parts.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, my S. Thorne says yes, okay, yeah. S. Thorne has taken it upon itself to actually just be like, you're not going to buy the tools you need, so I will buy them for you and send them. Thank you very much.
Have you considered buying some tools?
I will. I am going to get a new hot air station because that one Atten station that everyone raves about, it was when I briefly had a look on Amazon and it's 180 quid. I'm sure I can find it cheaper elsewhere, but like Amazon price is 180. I'm like, oh, it's less than 200 quid, worst case scenario. I'm sure that's like 140 on AliExpress or something like that. So I'm like, wow, I really ought to buy one of those because I keep having it in my head that the next step up from my hot air station is going to be 300 quid, which is just not an investment I'm willing to make for once in a lifetime, when as much of a struggle as that Xbox was, I got it done, But yeah. However, not on the soldering iron. No, I think hot air would help me more. The soldering iron, because also like a lot of people with the soldering, a lot of people are saying use a chisel tip, and it's like I've got a chisel tip, and I feel like the knife edge tip gets better surface contact, which is why I use it. However, I think in that particular instance, people are right. The chisel tip probably would have done it. I think I had enough heat. I just didn't have the application. So yeah, the Aten A62D is only 180. That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah. What's the Aten 862D on AliExpress? And soldering iron is still something I'm looking at, yeah. Muerto has a soldering station that he raves about that I want to buy.
Aten ST862D.
Yeah.
142.
Yeah,
106.
There you go. Yeah. Like that's probably going to be like 150, 160 with VAT and delivery on it.
103.
But even still, it's not expensive, and it's yeah. Like the 1,000-watt hot air stations have come down in price to what is very close to the cost of the Quick 8570W that I use now. Is that the real one? Yeah, because that's like 100, 111, 110.
Plus £28 shipping. So 130.
Yeah, so 130. Yeah, so
130
they're probably going
plus
to.
20.
I think they're going to add VAT on when you get to the checkout. So yeah, it's going to be like 140, 150. But still, 140, 150 for a 1,000-watt hot air station versus that's a 600-watt for comparison. So yeah, massively more power.
Approximately 156.
Yeah, so significantly more power than my current one. That's worth doing. So yes. Use an Aten H06. Is that a hot air station, the H06, or is that your soldering station? Because yeah, my current hot air station is a Quick 857DW Plus, which is the baby Quick. And it's good, but there's only so much you can do with 600 watts. Is the H06 a hot air station?
I was just looking at options with free shipping.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which actually works out slightly better to buy the more expensive one with free shipping than the cheaper one with paid for shipping.
Makes sense, yeah.
What was it, sorry?
Oh, yeah, the H06, which is it's the same.
H06.
Yeah, it's the same as an A62D. It's just been confirmed, so yeah, cancel. Soldering station, you use the Aixen T3V. Yes, I remember you mentioning that one, and that seems to be a very good option. So yeah.
Which is 82-ish.
Yeah, because that's also very affordable. Yeah, because one of the misconceptions, a lot of people like there was one of the comments on the Xbox video that was just like, oh, YouTube money and repair money, why can't you buy good equipment? And it's just like, I'm not banging out 300 quid profit on every job I do. This job. I don't generate that much profit, and I don't do superstar board repairs every day, so I'm not pumping out that kind of profit margin on every single job, which is why I hesitate, and I don't need the top end tools for every single job, which is why I hesitate before splashing out on high end hardware. But 80 quid for a top end soldering station is very affordable, and 140, 150 quid for a very high end hot air station is very affordable.
Which handle do you want? The T210, the T115?
Pass. I'd have a look for it. I'd have a look at it at some time. But the point
Sorry,
is,
I was asking about Muerto.
Oh yeah. Yes. The main core that I was gunning at though is like when I got into doing board repair. I got into board repair by watching Lewis Rossman, and Lewis Rossman, before he got onto like the Quick bandwagon and stuff like that, he was basically saying you should buy you should have this Hakko soldering station that's like $400, and you should have this either a Weller or a JCB hot air station that was also $400 or $500. So he was suggesting that you needed $1,000 worth of equipment for good equipment.
Yeah.
Which is why I've always been very skeptical about high-end equipment, because I've always had that costs four figures in my head.
Yeah,
but the reality,
£126.
Yeah, 126. Yeah, fair enough then. Yeah. Whereas the reality is that high-end equipment nowadays, high-end equipment is actually like £200 for the whole desk
because of Aten and
T12
Axon and
yeah
T12. T12 is not an option. The options are T210 or T115.
Yeah. Well, we'll get the specifics in. We'll get the specifics in Discord at some point when I actually start putting down money.
T12. The T12 handle one is cheaper still.
I see.
Yes, it's £77.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very well. T3A, not T3B.
Look at the T3.
I'm not going to buy this right now. I don't care about the specifics. So, yeah. I need to earn money again. That's the thing. Just like, that was the other reason why the dude who said, "Oh, with your YouTube money," kind of thing. I'm like, bitch, there is no YouTube money right now.
Well, maybe you should fix that.
Literally, it's a serious problem. The algorithm hates me. The channel is down like 80% revenue right now. It's pretty horrifying, and I'm working on it. But just like, yeah, just because I'm a YouTuber doesn't mean I'm a millionaire.
However, the video is at least performing okay.
That's the problem. It says, "Oh, this is getting more views than normal." I'm like, yeah, that means it's within a shout of what an average video used to get. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Apparently, a lot of people are watching it not from YouTube.
Interesting.
Are being linked to it not through YouTube searches.
Interesting. That's a very good sign. That's organic discovery, which is
Please give me
difficult to
sources.
get. But yeah. To start doing segues to ads, yeah, I do need to do that just out of necessity. But yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. It won't tell me what the sources are.
Yes. Illegal bot traffic, yeah. Merch would solve your problem. To an extent, yeah. Yeah, I do need to do that because because I'm a big believer in merch, because it's a case of I'm asking people to buy stuff, but also it's a case of, but you get stuff. You're supporting the channel and you get a cool t-shirt, you know.
It's okay. Sai's going to handle your merch.
Yeah, I need...
Without payment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. He can get paid in exposure.
I'm overwhelmed and burned out. I need help. And I'm only slightly joking.
I'm not saying this is what I've been saying, but...
But knowing about it doesn't fix it. But yeah. Same thing has happened with Soren. Oh yeah, I saw Soren started a new channel as well. Yeah, I'd heard a couple... Because like, I was talking to Paul Daniels the other day, or yesterday rather, about this. Because he was just like, oh yeah, this is the thing that's doing the rounds. He wasn't sure if that's what I was suffering, but he's like, yeah, a lot of people have got this problem and are just starting new channels because that seems to be the only way they can fix it, is to get a fresh start with no algorithm history. And I'm like, damn, that's a nuclear option.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Fuck's sake, Trev.
Yeah. I can't, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not starting a new channel anytime soon. That's just because that really feels like a nuclear option. But yeah, like I said, I'm not kidding. Revenue is down, but like revenue, right? Let me put it this way. When I moved to a new shop, the YouTube channel was generating about £1,200 a month. That's how much I got from YouTube, about £1,200, which is pretty sweet. That pays for the rent on the shop. Right now, we're on estimated 400. So that gives you an idea on how low we've gone. And like, we're well into, you know, like, now this is what Patreon and Twitch and YouTube members and Amazon affiliate stuff is designed to solve. It gives me that here is extra money that people are paying that fills in that gap. So I'm not in dire straits. I'm not going out of business tomorrow, but this isn't sustainable unless it gets better. That's the problem. I can only endure this for so long. That's the problem. And the issue is that it's incredibly demotivating when the channel is in this state, which is also why I'm struggling to make videos at the moment, because it's really hard to be motivated to make videos when performance is at this kind of level, because you really, like, I know it's cliche and everything, but every time you put out a video and it just, you know, and you just see the numbers be what they are, you're like, why am I bothering? I could fix computers faster if I wasn't making videos and just focus on making money by fixing stuff, you know. But you got to keep going, and I will keep going. Don't get me wrong. This isn't me admitting defeat, but yeah. Don't know. I think I'm just saying this just because I kind of just want this to be in the open. Is just to be like, yeah, by the way, the channel is in trouble, by the way. And this isn't me asking for money or anything. Don't, you know, that's not what this is about. I just want people to realize that one of the reasons why my video performance is less than stellar, like I'm not putting out banger videos, is I'm currently demotivated because the channel is not performing. And yeah, I don't know what's wrong with it, quite frankly. So yeah, try Kick? No thanks. For all kinds of moral reasons, absolutely not. I don't need your gambling money. So yes, YouTube needs to be replaced. Maybe. I do agree we do need more stuff, but it's very difficult to figure something out. Have you tried adding the shocker face thumbnails to videos? It's not, yeah, like part of me feels like I should just do that and just see what happens. Like I'd probably have to release a video that just says, by the way, I'm going to do really dumb thumbnails. Please don't hate me, but I need to do really dumb thumbnails to see if anything happens. Because I despise the thumbnail game. And for a long time I've said I won't play that game. I'll get by without it. But I don't know. When you get penned into a corner, sometimes the only way is to play the game. So yeah. So yes, more not posting, less board level repairs. In a way, the issue is that YouTube wants me to do board level repair on MacBooks. That's the only thing that the algorithm pushes from me. If I do a MacBook board repair, I got analytics for days. I put out any other video that is just something that I think is interesting and I think my audience will find interesting, nothing, you know. And yeah, it's just a struggle. Every video you have biting an item of the tech you're fixing. Yeah, heckin' tech potato. Yeah.
I'm fixing this Mac.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I did watch that tech potato video on YouTube journalism. It was extremely insightful.
He's good, isn't he?
I couldn't believe how on point that video was.
He's good, isn't he?
I have to admit, I'm sorry, Dr. Ian fucking Cutress. I doubted you. I thought you would be out of touch with what the YouTube scene actually looked like. I couldn't have been wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. And I should have known that because he worked for AnandTech for 10 years or whatever. Yeah. I shouldn't, like, you know, I thought, I was like, he's kind of like industry specialist. You know, he's deep in the industry as a consultant these days. You know, he's not in with the kids kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, I was wrong. He described everything that I'd felt in my core, but didn't know how to describe in words. Right. It was unbelievable. This man spoke to my soul. He stared deep into me and said, "This is how you feel." And I was like, "Thank you, Ian." You know. So yeah. Just as an aside, you know. Right, anyway.
Yeah, as Liam says, his PhD background helps as well because his PhD was in computational chemistry. I can't remember his full title, but yeah. And I was just like, Also, like, he held world records for overclocking.
I mean, that makes him knowledgeable about computers. I didn't doubt that at all.
And just stuff like that. So it's a case of he is very much wide spectrum individual.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't doubt his credentials per se and his technical expertise. That was never in question because he's Dr. Ian fucking Cuttress.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the first to use CUDA for chemistry.
Yeah. My doubt was that he had a firm grasp of the YouTube review scene per se.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I realise in retrospect how completely misguided that doubt was. However, that's also why I say with prostrated on the floor, I don't know why I doubted you, because I realise in retrospect how foolish it was to think that he was out of touch,
Yeah.
Because he was deep into industry consultancy, that he wouldn't still have his finger on the pulse,
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
yeah. Anyway, short format vids rule at the mo. Keep them pushed at me, even though my watch pattern includes more long format. Yeah, that might be an interesting test as well, because I recorded a video yesterday that was a MacBook board repair, and this is going to be a weighted test because it's a MacBook board repair, so it's going to perform well. But I had a MacBook A1502 with a dodgy I/O board. The I/O board on the A1502 has the USB port, the HDMI port, and the SD card reader on it, and it had a bad capacitor on it. I determined the laptop would not switch on because that board was faulty. I could have purchased another one on eBay for £5, but I thought just for funsies, let's actually look at that board and see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. When I looked at it under the microscope, I found a busted capacitor. I replaced the capacitor and the board started working and the laptop was fixed. And I've recorded a video that could be edited down to 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. I could probably get it down to 10 minutes if I try. So I'm going to try and edit, I'm going to aggressively edit that video and just see what happens. And I think it's going to be a banger. I think it's going to perform well just because it's MacBook board repair. However, it is shorter form.
How terrible would it be on the second channel to release the full version?
I didn't start recording from the beginning of the video. I started recording when I discovered the dead I/O board.
Oh yeah, but the full version, like a 30-minute edition.
I suppose,
or something, and effectively do an A/B comparison.
That would be really actually, yeah.
It won't be a true A/B because obviously the second channel has bugger all subscribers.
Yeah.
But the second channel is already an established channel in the correct categories, has content, so you can see how it gets pushed.
At the very least, if I put the 30-minute version on the second channel and it performs better than the main channel, I don't know what that would prove, but that would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be grounds for a what the actual hell? How is it possible? Well, that would disprove that shorter content is the answer. If I put a 30-minute video on the second channel and it outperforms a 10-minute video on the main channel, that would prove that shortening my videos is not the solution.
Yeah.
That would be my takeaway. Well, either A, shorter videos are not the solution, or B, the main channel is cursed.
Yeah.
Both of which would be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
YouTube videos have to be a certain length for advertising. Yeah, they need to be over 4 minutes or something, isn't it, these days? For the monetization, isn't it saying like 4 minutes or 5 minutes?
So there are multiple categories. If you want a YouTube short, you need to be 60 seconds or under, or I think it's 2 minutes or under, I can't remember.
Yeah.
If you want to be long enough to put a mid-roll in, it has to be 10 minutes, which is why there's the infamous 10-minute mark. It's not 10 minutes in order to monetize it. It's 10 minutes in order to put in a mid-roll. So because for a long time, there are a lot of people who are like, oh, you stretched this out to 10 minutes so you can monetize it. Bitch, you can monetize a 5-minute video. However, it needs to be 10 minutes if you want to put a mid-roll in there. However, if the channel doesn't run mid-rolls anyway, your argument is invalid.
Yeah.
So, because a lot
as
of
far
people,
as I'm aware, the mid-rolls are off for everything, aren't they?
on my channel, yes, there are no mid-rolls.
Actually, they might be on for the second channel.
Not intentionally.
Yeah. Just because I know that
Yeah.
obviously on the second channel we didn't actually look, and I think it defaults to on.
Whenever I schedule a video, they're off.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
yeah,
the
it pops
default,
up, doesn't it?
the default is off. Yeah. So yeah, like that is another option that I have to consider is switching on mid rolls.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I did a video where I said I'm not doing mid rolls, but in that same video, I said if I get to a point where I feel like I need it, I may reconsider that.
Yeah. The other
That
thing,
time may have arrived.
the other thing that may be worthwhile doing is doing a computer build live stream on the main channel.
Oh yeah, you floated that idea a couple
Just
of times.
because that was the best performing live stream.
That one live stream where I had 700 viewers. Yeah.
Because I think we've been at 400-ish, 450-ish on this, on a couple of them. I think we managed.
On a really good day,
Yeah, but it's just a case of that
Yeah.
as a blowout was double that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm just going to back read the chat a little bit because I've been neglecting the chat.
yeah.
So yeah. YouTube algorithm keeps recommending religious. Oh my god, yeah.
Sorry, it keeps recommending
Religious ceremonies, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Dave Weldon says, I'd never watch a MacBook board repair video though. Maybe you specifically know, but that's sample size of one. YouTube has an idea of what every channel is supposed to be, and YouTube believes that my destiny is to fix MacBooks, and it's extremely difficult to change that. I push back against that all the time to make sure that I don't get pigeonholed into it. But the reality is YouTube wants me to fix MacBooks, unfortunately. So yeah, and yeah, videos just aren't being recommended at all. Definitely a YouTube problem. Yeah. Don't YouTube videos have to be certain? Yeah, we've just gone over that. The YouTube algorithm told you to put your finger in a fire, would you? Yes, this is true. It's give and take with what YouTube wants you to do and what you actually do. Like, as I say, I always have a rough idea on what videos I think are going to be high performers. And sometimes you aim for those videos, but also I try to put out stuff that's not that to ensure that I have the choice. But also, to an extent, I think I may have been pigeonholed without knowing so, because one of the things that triggered this collapse was the YouTube the VR full body tracking video. I've said this before on the live stream, but as soon as I put out that video tanked, and that's what initiated the channel crash.
yeah.
I don't know if it was that video's fault, but all I know is as soon as I put out that video, that was the point where everything just suddenly went wrong, which makes me very unhappy, but that's just what the numbers tell me. So yeah, oh yeah, then Teltac says, then do your next video the other way around, do the long one on the main and the short on the second channel.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Add a busty female in the thumbnail, yes. Yeah. Oh, 2010 YouTube. I like longer videos than 10 minutes. Agreed. I like videos that are like 20 to 30 minutes long. That's what I target with my videos.
I like
20 to 30
videos that
minutes.
are somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes long on 2x, so 10 to 20 minutes, basically.
Yeah, yeah. When I'm editing a video, I want it to be 20 and 30 minutes long. I'll push over that. If I'm starting to push 40 minutes, I'll start getting aggressive with the editing. 45 minutes is oh my god, okay. And if I've gone past 45 minutes, then it's just because I'm just like, I just need to get this done at that point, you know. But yeah, half an hour is what I'm aiming for.
Yes, but what speed? Now, I have a question for you.
I think YouTube is using revenue to ad blockers. Maybe, I'm not sure. I need to look into just this thing going on in YouTube, because I was vaguely aware that there were issues, and I didn't want to blame YouTube for potentially my own shortcomings, but it is becoming increasingly inferred that the channel's current lack of performance is a YouTube problem, not a me problem. But at the same time, I'm still going to keep trying super hard, because if you, I say this to every content creator who's complaining about their numbers, you got to keep making content. You're not going to solve this problem by not making content. So whatever happens, you got to keep making content. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So don't worry, I'm not doing anything, but yeah. Live build a custom loop. Maybe, I do want to do that at some point.
Was that JD? Did JD say that?
Didn't see, because the chat suddenly moved and what I just read went somewhere else. So yeah. PC says, yeah, Soren's channel's recently tanked too. Yeah, interesting to see that he's having a similar problem, because he is of a similar kind of size to me. Same ballpark anyway. Just Caradog without a shirt. That was JD. Well, he's got his chest fluff on show. Okay. Oof. Anyway, I'm going back to the chat just straight away. Lewis Vids starting his cat get double your viewage. Oh no. Yeah. Soren came out and said YouTube cannot differentiate bot traffic and upswing for more viewers. Yeah. I don't know. Have a thought about you doing short or not short about open source alternative tools like Rufus, Enlight, and so on? The thought has occurred to me to do similar stuff, because I haven't done it, but I keep threatening to make a video about OpenRGB, because I think OpenRGB is really interesting. To put things in perspective, OpenRGB is a RGB management app, and what it's really good at is filling in the gaps in a mixed RGB system. For example, my PC at home has an Asus motherboard, Asus graphics card, NZXT water cooler and monitoring screen, Corsair RAM, Cooler Master keyboard, Logitech mouse. That's like 6 different brands of RGB right there. So doing all of the RGB without having 6 different programs running is extremely difficult. And what OpenRGB does is it covers like 5 out of those 6. And it's not very good at doing effects, but it can just put a flat color on most of those objects, which is all I want. And I want to do a video that talks about that, because I think it's extremely interesting using OpenRGB to fill in the gaps. And so, yeah, I have thought about doing little videos like that to just be like, hey, here's a problem that I think we can all relate to, and here's a nifty solution to it. So I guess tips videos is how you could talk about that. So yeah. Did you see EVblog's video about paying money to YouTube to promote his vids after a month of promotion? Yeah, that seemed to be the start. That seemed to be the start of a thing. I didn't look into that because I'm not interested in paid promotion. That's not something that interests me. But it was interesting to reveal that there was a problem there. So yes. Spiffing Brit did a video on community tab boosts your video views. Yeah, that's true. I need to start doing more community posts, but also that's a workload that I'm not very good at, because man, I can't even post on my goddamn Patreon right now. So asking me to do the community posts as well is tough. That is definitely something to think about, though. I agree. Valid suggestion. So yeah. I use Signal RGB. I didn't like Signal RGB because it eats CPU cycles, or it did on my when I tried it anyway. When I tried out Signal RGB, it was eating like 10% of my CPU, and I was like, no, that's unacceptable. Graham Tech Tips, yeah. Hire someone to do community posting. Can't afford to. I could potentially crowdsource it though, which is something to think about. Ooh. Just you know, talk to the community, see if there's anyone about in the see if there's anyone in the talk to people in the Discord and see if there's someone who I believe sufficiently has their finger on the pulse for the kind of work I do and would be interested in taking a larger part in the channel per se. Yeah, no offense to a lot of you, but there's a lot of people, you know, like that. I would be extremely particular about who that person is, because yeah. But it's something to think about, though. I think that's work experience, lads. Probably not. That's the problem. I don't trust other people to know the system, basically, which is partly a me problem, but also, you know, the phrase "good help is hard to find" is very real. There are a lot of people who just don't have the experience to understand how it all works in a real way, you know. So yeah. I knew something was off when YouTube basically said that they can post ads on your non-monetized content, basically saying they can monetize if you don't want to. No real YouTube court. Yeah, that was a little bit sketchy. It's a tricky situation because it's very easy to attack YouTube as a platform and say, oh, they're evil and stuff like that. But it's also a matter of, like, I mean, how much money is YouTube actually making at the moment? I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that at any given time, a lot, like, this kind of circles back to the Unity situation. It's very easy to attack people and be like, oh, that's bad, you're earning money off the backs of people. It's just like, yeah, but also sometimes it's because the business needs to actually make money. Like, now don't get, for the record, I'm not about to go to bat for Unity, but Unity's problem stems from the fact that they're not making any money and they need to make some money. Now, obviously, they're going about it in entirely the wrong way, and there is absolutely a conversation to be had there, but you can't just say go back to how it was, because the system, how it was is they're losing money hand over foot. So it's a case of, yeah, like when YouTube are changing things, it's not because they're being greedy, it's because they're looking at it going, we need to be making more money. You know, someone has to pay. There is a payment that has to be made. And if you're going to keep paying, you know, if you're going to keep paying your content creators and you're going to keep paying your infrastructure bills and you're going to keep the lights on, someone has to pay. And that means running more adverts. So there has to be more adverts, you know.
It does seem like, and whilst I'm obviously biased in this based off of size,
yeah,
but it does seem like the scaling needs to be lessened slightly.
Scaling of what?
The payouts, the payments. In the sense of a 50 million view video,
yeah,
pick a number at complete random, should not pay out £100,000.
It should pay out less or more?
Less.
Less, yeah.
But the equivalent 50 million views,
yeah,
per view on smaller channels should pay out the same. Because, yeah, again, from my point of view with almost everything is that there should be more smaller groups.
Yes, yeah, because the problem is that
because what happens,
the way that CPM works is that one single view on my channel is worth less than one single view on Mr. Beast's channel, even though the two equate to the same thing. A person watches the video.
Now I can understand that varying between country, language,
yeah,
sector.
Sure.
Because it is very demonstrable that advertisers for English language finance will pay more than Brazilian language soybeans, for example.
Yeah, fair enough.
Stuff like that. It is demonstrable that people who have channels primarily in the United States will have more people watch from the United States, and the people from the United States are more likely to buy a product from the large American companies that are spending billions of pounds on advertising. Therefore, one of those views is worth more.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a case of, I can understand that as well. And it's incredibly difficult. But I do feel like the scaling on CPM needs to be dialed back. And effectively made to encourage, the 20,000 view video. Or not necessarily encourage, but just provide a slightly greater percentage of support.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah. One of the issues as well is, of course, that CPM is a black box to stop people from gaming the system.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to know how it is actually weighted. Like, for all I know, a view on my channel might actually be worth the same as a view on Mr. Beast's channel, and everything else is parameters like you specified.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. In a sense of, it should almost be a case where it starts becoming worth less per view at a certain point.
Yeah. Apparently a video payout is capped at $5,000, but
I can't believe that is true, only because of what LTT has shown with screen recordings of their payouts on videos.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe, yeah.
Because LTT have shown what their payout is per video.
Yeah.
Yeah, because apparently they can show how much they earn on a video, but they can't show what the CPM is.
Yeah, presumably that. Yeah, because CPM is one of the people. Yeah, YouTube doesn't like people sharing the CPM because most of the other stats about a channel, views, subscribers, and so on, are public, and I think YouTube is concerned that if lots of big channels shared their CPM, it would be possible to calculate how CPM is calculated.
But also the case of it would show up when there is a disparity between channels.
Yeah. So again, it's people being allowed to talk about how much you earn, basically, isn't it?
The less your staff know they're allowed to share them, the easier it is to influence and manipulate them.
Yes. Yeah. So
LTT is at the size where they don't care.
Yeah. Was wrong based on incorrect information. Fair enough. Yeah.
But it's a case of, LTT is at the size where they don't care.
Yeah.
I heard something pop and then something beep, and I was just like,
oh, I think it was me knocking a cable down here, and then my chair squeaked at the same time.
I was just like, what?
Yes. Anyway. Yeah. This has been
This has been a. Oh yes, my.
We need to stop making that joke just because.
Why?
It's an incredibly obscure reference, and the problem
it's not
is
obscure if people watch your Twitch.
I haven't played Hat in Time for ages.
So you have played A Hat in Time on Twitch.
Therefore, I can make obscure references from A Hat in Time, and we can make them every week because any time I finish a conversation where I'm not sure of the solution, I usually end up and going, because that's what my dad does, and I grow more like my father with every day that passes.
I mean, that's generally the way it goes, isn't it?
It introduces a
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, or
a self-existentiating crisis.
An existential crisis of sorts, yes.
It's okay. You'll never be 100% like him.
No. I support my father. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like him in every way. So, yeah.
No, exactly. And I feel like that's unhealthy to want to be like anyone in every way. Oh, that gets onto a conversation about parasocial relationships.
Oh, no. Bleh. Right, Right, I'm going to roll back a little bit. Let's see. Brian says, I don't have any sympathy for YouTube because I pay for Family Premium. I get more money when I signed up. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Premium is I think, Family Premium, if you... I like YouTube Premium. I think it's a good idea. The individual cost of it is too expensive. However, I'm now in a family plan with certain people who I need to actually send money to. And I need the information on who I'm supposed to be paying and how much. I'm not specifying who it is.
I need to pay some people some money.
Yes.
I must speak to a man about a dog.
Yes. Caradog is my YouTube daddy. So anyway, so look, I had the joke lined up, and I was like, no, I'm not wasting this. So yes. However, getting a family plan with your mates is a very good way to get YouTube Premium, and suddenly that works out very well. And YouTube Premium helps out creators a lot. I will say that much. So yeah, and also you get YouTube Music. So if that is useful to you, it's pretty good. Starting to think that tech channels like Jay and Paul's Hardware and stuff are beginning to feel like the library situation. Do they still need to exist? What do you mean? Like, as in...
Why do libraries not need to exist?
Well, also, but like...
What?
When you equate them to being a library, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like just a generic, oh, this new graphics card has come out, here is a middle-level, a top-down review of it that is not as detailed as someone like Gamers Nexus, but provides a digestible amount of content, kind of thing? Because, yeah...
English. To put a potential cat amongst pigeons. I would like a channel that goes into much more depth and detail than GN does. Because I feel like that is completely lacking from the understanding of the industry at large. Because there seems to be this level, but no one knows how it's made, kind of thing. No one explains how it's made. No one explains why we have 10,000 GPU cores, but 6 CPU cores, kind of thing. No one explains why a GPU is an adding card, and a CPU isn't an adding card, if that makes sense, because there are fundamental differences in the way they're used, and the way that the software is built, and so on, and all of that kind of stuff at the raw fundamental level.
I think what you're looking for is a computer science course.
But that's what I mean. People who are going into that from the perspective of how the understanding of then the review of, right, but why is this graphics card faster? Why is this processor faster?
I see what you mean.
Why is this slower?
Yeah.
Why can we not just infer this from the specification?
Okay,
and all of that. I'm not saying here's how to go build your own CPU and here's how to set up, you know, 5 nanometer extreme UV lithography machines.
Yeah.
And, you know, submersion lithography methods. I'm saying, why can I not just read the specification and go, oh, this is faster?
Yes, to an extent.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, to an extent, I understand the interest in that. And I think to a certain extent, this is somewhere where Tech Potato, Ian Cuttress, is actually quite good. Because like one of his earlier videos was when Rocket Lake was first coming out. And he did a video that talked about Rocket Lake and why its performance was irrelevant because what was more important...
the backporting.
Yeah, the
backporting video.
It was more about backporting. And that was very interesting because that was, if I'm understanding what you're looking for correct, that was of a similar vein. It was explaining the why.
I'm looking for the AnandTech articles of, 2008-ish through to 2018, 19-ish.
In video and or podcast format.
In either video format or in text format.
Sure.
I'll take them in text format, but they just, no one wants to fund them because they're not advertisable.
Yeah.
Oh my God, English. They don't get the big views, so you can't sell them on advertising.
Yeah.
People have to pay for it. And I'm okay with that as a concept, but I need someone to demonstrate their intelligence first.
Yeah.
Give Caradoc a box with something in it, and it explains what it is just by feeling it. Okay.
Fair enough.
Caradoc explains the stuff and things. Yeah, I mean, I have been told that I'm good at explaining stuff, but also like,
Yeah. And Sean says, not saying that libraries don't need to exist, but with digital media, it's hard to justify a building full of books with a lot of people going to use free Wi-Fi. Again, I don't understand how you're equating. I don't understand how you're equating like Jay's 2 cents and Paul's Hardware and such like to that.
Also, the point of a library isn't singularly the book. The point of a library isn't necessarily the exchange on the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a library was a bad analogy to give. I think, yeah.
But also just a case of separately, I want to make the point of the fact of the point of a library isn't solely about the book.
Yeah, yeah. This is the problem: is that libraries have a very important cultural and societal significance, which makes them far more important than just their surface value per se.
Yeah. There is an awful lot of community outreach in various forms that is funneled via libraries, certainly at least in the UK.
Yeah.
And it is, to get on a soapbox, critically underfunded and is being withdrawn from communities that desperately need it. And it's, it is a significant issue.
Yes.
Because there are so many services that are rendered through it, so many requirements that modern life has, that so many people and sectors of society don't actually have free and easy access to, that a library provides.
Yeah.
A library provides a computer for free to anyone. You can just walk in there and use it, and it has a printer, it has a scanner. It has the ability for someone to walk you through how to use a computer, and they are expected to do that as a part of their job.
And this is funded, by the state. It is not a private endeavour.
Again, in the UK, you can go somewhere and have someone walk you through that stuff, and it alleviates part of the concern about feeling like a burden because it's their job.
Yeah. Hard to justify to councils on a budget. Okay, yeah, so we can have a conversation about libraries, but what does that have to do with Jay's 2 cents and Paul's hardware? That's the bit I'm missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yes.
And it's a case of, I say that as someone who is from the sector of society who will primarily be paying for a service I do not receive. And I believe that I am duty-bound to pay for that service because I'm a member of the society that it serves.
Yeah.
But, that's an entirely different conversation.
Yes.
But it is just the point of...
While we're touching on this subject, you know. But yes, fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think all YouTube channels have getting this back on topic. I think all YouTube channels, a good YouTube channel that has I think possibly the question we're asking here is, every YouTube channel needs to ask itself the question of why does this channel exist and does it need to exist? If it doesn't need to exist, then why should it expect to get money for existing if it serves no purpose? So the reasons why a channel might want to exist is because the person running the channel has a particular like in my case, there is nothing that I'm doing that you cannot find on more skilled channels. If you want MacBook repair, go and watch Paul Daniels Fix a Mac because he's a lot better at it than I am. So why should my channel exist? Maybe I have a way of explaining things that speaks to you better than Paul. Maybe you're looking for a greater variety, in which case I'm providing a variety stream. So you like to see lots of different things. So, so this is not me just immediately trying to eradicate myself. This is going, okay, well, let's ask the basic question and then explain why I believe my channel should exist. Likewise, Jay's 2 cents, using that as an example, Jay's not really a specialist in anything. But on the other hand, he's got a lot of really cool ideas for custom builds, and he's really good at doing custom water cooling loops and stuff like that. When he's doing that, he's really at his best. When he's trying to be like other channels, like doing reviews and just chasing the trend, that's when he's at his weakest. And a lot of the time, what he really needs to do is stick to his strength there, because that's what he's good at. Jay is entertaining when he's doing that. Yeah, I agree. When Jay is on a topic that he knows, like water cooling, and talking about cool stuff and being like, oh, I could do this and you could put it across here and, you could do this stuff like that. That's where he's at his best.
Of course.
So that's the thing. This is the question. If we're going to ask ourselves, why does a channel need to exist? Those are the kind of answers you need to come up with.
His latest video. Driving sim stuff.
Yeah, well, he likes driving sim
Absolutely,
stuff.
And I'm just like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, oh, yes, it's the £1,000 motor one and so on. I'm like, but of course.
Oh no, has he got the better one of what we're waiting for? So yeah,
Kind of.
So basically, we're gonna have a shitter version of what Jay's just reviewed, and he's just done it first.
It's from a different company.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So because I was about to say,
think
so
it's
so when we
Slim
do our racing sim video, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, you've been watching Jay's 2 cents," and we're like, "No, we just also happen to be doing that at the same time." Like when Gamers Nexus reviewed the EK Elite a week before I did, and I was like, "No, I'd already bought this of my own volition. I didn't buy it because I saw it on Gamers Nexus." When is yours coming? We don't know, and it's a sore point.
When is
Caradog
mine
is very
coming?
angry about
I
it.
don't know. I don't know. I will.
I will write
enlighten
a
the
strongly
class.
worded email immediately, or live on stream.
No.
Two Guys Talk Tech demands to know where their racing sim gear is. Send tweet. You know?
No, I sent them a message on Thursday that was impolite.
Yeah.
Good morning. With tomorrow being the 3-week mark since my order was marked as fully shipped, please may I have an update as to when I'll actually receive the order and when it will be dispatched. The lack of communication is disappointing. It would have been nice to know at the time of ordering, 3 weeks ago, that you were out of stock or didn't have a logistical capacity to ship people's orders.
Yes. So basically, he said. Yeah. Basically, he said, "Bitch, I ordered this 3 weeks ago. Where's my dispatch notice and estimated delivery time? Tony Stark could have built this in a cave and shipped it in less time than this." Yes, you certainly could have gotten one from AliExpress in this time. So, yeah.
But yes.
I like the videos on what it's like to run a shop. No one else does, unfortunately. Although those videos weren't very good either. So maybe that's the problem
What
there.
videos about running a shop?
Well, when I did the shop, the shop move videos.
Oh, I see.
There was a very dedicated core audience that watched those and was just like, "I really like this," but also they were absolutely dire performers on YouTube. And while, like I said earlier on, I make the content that I want to make. However, also sometimes I need to take a hint. You know, if you put out a video. Well, if you put out a series of videos and every single one of them tanks, maybe you should be making a different kind of video. You know.
Or maybe you should make better versions of those videos.
Maybe, because they weren't very good videos. I will concede that point. Which is not to say I deliberately made them bad, but they were made a while back, and I wasn't going to recut every single one of them. I don't have the man energy to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Shop videos are the same dedicated nerds here now. Yeah, I agree. And for the record, I greatly appreciate everyone who showed... Like, the people who come to this show, you guys are the core dedicated audience because you can be bothered to sit and listen to us waffle for 2 to 3 hours every week. Or you enjoy that, rather. However...
You enjoy that.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I appreciate each and every one of you, but you don't keep the lights on. What's the trying to find the nicest way of saying that? Now, the Patreon people as well. You guys, you know, people, the patrons and the supporters. You are definitely keeping the lights on, but there are not enough of you to be the total revenue stream, if you see what I mean. A dedicated audience of 100 people won't keep things going. Even if they were all Patreons. Yeah, these are facts. Unfortunately, the algorithm does have to be appeased. Because when the algorithm does its job, instead of having a dedicated group of 100, there is 100,000 people who are generating a fraction of a cent each instead. And that adds up to a lot more. So it's now again, it's difficult. Like it's very difficult to. Like I say, I want to stress that the core audience is super important, and I love each and every one of you. But it's a total sum.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, as Brian says, he needs us, but he needs more than us too.
Yeah. That's a good way of phrasing it. It's difficult to explain this in a way that doesn't sound bad, you know.
But it's a case of not having a dedicated core audience is just as bad as not having any other audience.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
it's also a case of the other audience is also required because you need more than 100 people.
Yes, yeah.
You need more than 1,000 people.
That's right. Like, at the end of the day, the dedicated core audience are the main viewers of the channel right now, where it's not performing well enough. And there's more than 100 of you guys as well. You know, like, a typical video at the moment is getting in somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 views. And that's obviously significantly more than 100 people. But that's 5,000 or 7,000 views out of 162,000 subscribers. So you understand, you know, you can see how there is the potential for things to be enormously larger than they actually are. And it's finding that potential that is that's the thing, you know. So yes, quality and quantity. It's a mix. Yeah. Kids, I love you, but you don't pay the rent. Yeah. You know. Again, it's that old argument of, you know, when people say sort of, oh, YouTubers would be nothing without the audience kind of thing. Therefore, you work for the audience. It's like, no, I work for myself, thank you very much. But you guys help out a lot kind of thing. It's a team effort. It's wrong to look at it as a black and white situation in either direction. But it is certainly a combination of all of these factors that results in success, you know.
Ooh.
More content around the shop would be nice. Definitely. I should definitely consider more than that, and I will do that. That's a position that I want to move into. So yeah.
You can, yeah, but you were saying about being pigeonholed and stuff.
Yeah.
You can see about what content does well for Jay and what doesn't.
Yeah. What is doing
for
well for
4060 review, 320k views.
Yeah.
AMD CPU review, 220k views.
Yeah.
CPU review, 5600 X3D review, 320k views.
Yeah.
Replacing the pedal shifters in an Audi R8, 100,000 views.
Okay,
reviewing
that's a car, so off-brand.
Reviewing a camera, 70,000 views.
Yeah.
Reviewing the Asus ROG handheld gaming thing, 430,000 views.
Yeah.
You can kind of see how...
Is there anything on, like, builds that he's been working on?
Then there is modding a case, 180,000 views.
Yeah.
It's
so
like...
That's the thing.
His
like,
builds and modding cases are doing really bad views.
Yeah, see, that's the tough thing, because like I'm saying to Jay, oh, you know, your reviews are mid, mate. Stick to modifying computers, and it's like my reviews get 3 times the views of that other content. So to that extent, when I was just like, oh, mate, Jay, you should stick to modifying computers. That's not what makes him money, is it?
Talking about the 7700 XT and 7800 XT, 440,000 views.
And that's just talking about it. Yeah. Like,
that's just running through the specs and the
like
price.
I sympathize with you, Jay. That's rough, man, because I can see that like earlier on in the show, and that can very easily be taken out of context now. I was like, mate, stick to modifying PCs, and he could quite easily turn around and say, dude, that don't pay my bills.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do, but that doesn't pay the bills, you know? And likewise, I'm in the same situation. I want to talk about making VR trackers that I think are cool. I want to talk about, you know, doing variety content, but that don't pay my bills.
Yeah.
Fixing MacBooks pays my bills.
Yeah.
And I want to do more than just that, but YouTube will pigeonhole you into what it thinks you want to do. And that's a mixture of and that's not just YouTube's fault, that's what the people are searching for, you know. Like, let's face it, when a new graphics card comes out, I will watch a couple of different reviews of it to get a broad overview of what that's all about. So I'm just as guilty of being part of that problem as the rest of it. But I guess when I say YouTube will pigeonhole you, that's not just YouTube as a company, but YouTube as a system, as the platform, the audience, and the company. So yeah. Blog style weekend PC repair shop. Something to think about. What's your main MOT for starting the channel? Was it to teach or to promote the business, or just figured may as well vid? So my MO for starting the channel was I was fixing computers, and I thought it was interesting to talk about how I fixed computers and tell people about what I was doing because they might find it interesting. Because when I was a kid, and my dad needed to fix something on his car or something like that, I would go out and watch him fix the car, and he would explain to me what he was doing. And he would just say, so I'm going to take this off here, and you see how that's all gungy? We've got to wash that out. So I'll get some petrol and I'll get an old toothbrush and I'll clean it in petrol, and now it's all clean. So now I'm going to put it back in. And so that was the teaching style that rubbed off on me. And so for me, when I was doing stuff on computers, it's like that. I don't think any of them exist. There might be privated on my personal YouTube channel. There might exist very, very early YouTube videos of me with a handheld compact digital camera recording 320 by 180 video, saying how to redo the thermal paste on a CPU, and saying, so you want to put a dob of that on, then just try and spread it out a bit, and then just put the cooler on top like this kind of thing. That might still exist. I'm going to, I can't check from this computer because I'm not logged onto my personal account. But I started out making videos like that because I thought that was interesting, because I was interested when my dad was doing that. And so the YouTube channel started out as that. And this is very apparent in the Let's Fix Computers pilot that's on my personal channel. Is that it's just like, got a broken screen. To fix this, we've got to take this off, and then this off, and then you can take out the screen. There's a couple of different types of screen. Here's the one that I've got. I'm going to put that back in, and so on. That was the original purpose of the channel, is I'm fixing computers, and I'm going to tell you about how I do it. Fundamentally, that is the MO of Adamant IT, is I'm fixing computers, and I'm going to tell you how I do it. And it's a very discovery format, is most of the stuff I work on. I may not have done that one before. And this is why sometimes it's frustrating when people knock me for not having perfected the task that I'm doing, or saying, why didn't you look up a how-to on how to do this first? I'm like, because that's not how I work day to day in a shop. I don't look up walkthroughs on how I fix everything. My skill is figuring it out as I go. That is what I'm good at, is just going, because every model of laptop that comes in is a model that I may not have seen before. I can't look up a walkthrough on every single one. When being good at fixing laptops is being able to take a laptop that you've never seen before and figure out how to take it apart. Because if you can do that, you can fix anything. That is true skill, is just being able to approach anything, just going in cold. Now, there are times when you'll have a terrible time on that, but broadly speaking, that's what you're trying to aspire to. That's the goal, you know. So, yeah. So, yes, you learn by doing, not by parroting another video. Yeah, exactly that. That was something that I said in the Xbox video. Someone was just like, oh, go watch insert other YouTuber here. He's much better at it. And I'm like, yes, but I've done it, and now I'm slightly better at it than I was before. And the next one I do, I'll be slightly better again.
Yeah.
We get better by doing. It's very cheap to say so-and-so is better at this than you. But if I don't do it, I'll never get better at it. And sometimes showing that journey is what people are interested in, is seeing the journey. And my channel is not being about the best at something, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week's overclocking stream did well, didn't it? I don't know, actually. I don't look at the second channel stats very often. I'm going to bring them up now.
Yes.
Let's see. Content, live.
Content. This is content.
Last week's stream was average. The highest performing stream I've had recently was the solo stream I did, fixing the IMUs. But also that was just a particularly good stream. That was just good content. That one just worked out very well. So yeah. However, typically...
Oh, the one with the trackers.
Yeah,
yes.
the VR trackers. Which incidentally, I've built those now and they came out really nice. But yeah, a typical stream clocks in at the high 2000s. So somewhere between 2,500 views and 3,000 views. So yeah. Don't know what else to say about it really. But yeah. Main channel next week? No. In the nicest possible way. If I do a live stream on the main channel, I want that to be a very controlled and premeditated stream, basically.
Yeah.
And theoretically, next week's stream, where we're going to actually have the freezer out and we're going to do a major overclocking run, we have done enough planning that we want that to be a banger. But also, that's going to be a very hectic stream, and I'm going to be incredibly stressed during that stream. So yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I was mowing the lawn. Have you roasted Unity? Kind of. We didn't really have a big conversation about it because neither of us have anything to add to the conversation. Something paying per install is stupid. Wanting to increase your revenue is completely legit. Charging per install is really dumb, completely unenforceable, and they have no system in place to do this. That's the core issue there, is they have no system in place in order to accurately track installations in a meaningful way that doesn't just completely screw everyone over. Yeah, they have good intentions. They say, oh, we want to do it as a one-time install. However, like one of the things, like for example, your Windows activation is supposed to be a one-time thing. But if you change your motherboard, it's the same computer, but Windows gets deactivated. So is the game going to get deactivated? Is that going to count as another install? Unity say that they want to track it fairly, but the way they talk sounds like they've solved a problem that no other company has solved. They talk as if they've solved a problem that Microsoft has not solved with Windows activations, and they talk as if they are, like, in terms of avoiding install bombing by people just repeatedly installing something to generate bills for companies. They say, oh no, we're going to have an anti-fraud system. You're saying you've solved botting, because that's a problem that no one else has solved. So if you reckon you've solved botting, I don't think so, basically. And according to unverified claims of people who have posted on Reddit who say they work for Unity, they have no system in place for this right now. And they're expected to roll this out in 3 months. Good luck. Good luck, is all I'd say to that. However, also, I saw another very, very interesting post that was posted to Reddit as well. There was an analysis that observed that, because a lot of flack is falling on the CEO of Unity right now, because he's a dick who used to work for EA. And make no mistake, the CEO is a dick. However, also, Unity's board of directors is full of people who paid their way into the company by buying lots of shares and work for very unpleasant companies who make malware, adware, and what's the term for something that preys on someone? Predatory mobile games and stuff like that. That is Unity's board of directors, and they all seem to be very intent. They all seem to have an agenda that involves Unity making really, really terrible decisions. And the CEO is bound to do what the board of directors tells him to do. So as much as he's a dick, Also, the board of directors is riddled with bad people. And so it seems to be that Unity is completely rotten at the entire top level. And that is more than just the CEO. So that is something that a lot of people are not talking about right now, is that the entire top level of Unity is rotten. And that means that they have... this is not a problem that will go away by the CEO getting fired or let go. The entire board of directors is rotten.
I'm going to make a hot take statement, which is unresearched and unevidenced.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, but is an opinion statement from me more than an objective fact statement.
Yeah.
I don't think there are many good Unity games. I think Unity is primarily a platform for shoveling shit.
Yes. That's it.
So Unity disappearing will be a net benefit to the quality of the gaming industry.
Because the kind of people who make quality games could just as easily make those quality games with a different engine.
As an incredibly hot take.
Yeah.
Like I made this hot take to a couple of people, and the only example they could give of a game that was well made that was Unity, Cult of the Lamb. That was actually a good game.
I think there are lots of other examples.
But that was the only one that a couple of people could give, and I was just like, I'm not saying that that's true, but I'm just saying that, you know, if we're going, there are single-digit numbers of games when there are 100,000 games released.
Yes.
Or when there are a million games released, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But also the same argument could be leveraged against Unreal.
Yeah.
Because of how many people use Unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the thing: is I don't think your statement is false, because like people in chat are already going, Cult of the Lamb, Among Us, Kerbal Space Program, City Skyline, VR chat. It's like, yes, we can keep going like that, and we can count 100 games out of how many Unity games that exist. But also, again, we could probably say the same thing about Unity. So I'm not sure what this point proves.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just kind of a case of, obviously, that is very much my opinion of the situation.
Yeah.
As a starting point, so people are aware of that. Is my opinion of the situation is, I don't care one way or the other.
Yes, because games will survive, and good games will survive because they'll just do it in another engine.
Yeah, and then other statement
Yeah.
is that going only from the official releases of Unity,
Yeah.
no other sources provided whatsoever,
Yeah.
it certainly was inferred that it only applies to games that are already making X revenue anyway. And that X revenue level seemed to be a reasonably high revenue level.
Yeah.
So ignoring all other problems, this seems to be an argument of people going, how dare Unity charge me money for my game that's making lots of money?
Yes. Yeah. And I think
And I'm taking that with zero other context,
Yeah.
but as a starting point of a statement.
as a top level observation, because also I think this defeats Teltac's point, because Teltac says this hot take ignores the game engine space. Unreal licensing is insane. Godot and Bevy aren't mature.
Doesn't Unreal allow you to make £1 million of revenue before you have to pay licensing
Something
fees?
very high, yes. The Unreal is the more expensive option, but again, you don't hit that point until you're already making money. In which case, you're already making money. So what's the problem? You know.
And I'm kind of just saying from my perspective of someone who is involved with a company and is used to having to pay for professional tools.
Yeah, and now if we flip the table there and say, by comparison, Unity is really cheap and means that games can be made for really cheap. Yeah, and Unity's going bust. So it doesn't work then, does it? What good is being cheap if your company is going under?
Yeah.
So,
being cheap and doing that, obviously, effectively, the forcing other companies out of the market by running as a loss leader for several years only works when you are injected with lots and lots of money, because it's expected that after 3 years, you'll suddenly jack up your prices because there are no alternatives.
Yeah. Now, Teltac says, there are example of games that will be several 100,000 in the red after the new pricing. That's because the new pricing is stupid. There's no dispute that Unity's proposed pricing model is dumb and stupid. However,
I've not seen the actual pricing.
Yeah.
But
however, the concept that Unity needs to charge more is a completely fair and justified statement, in my opinion.
yeah, because a lot of the furore I've seen from 2 miles away has
Yeah.
been, how dare Unity charge me money?
Yeah,
And I'm just kind of like,
because they gotta make money. They
how
gotta keep
dare
the
the
lights
service
on.
I'm using to generate income charge me money for
Yeah.
providing a professional service? What?
Yeah. And again, just to make sure that we're not going to bat for Unity here, their new pricing structure and the cost per and charging per install and so on is dumb and stupid, and what they've announced is dumb and stupid. But the fact that they need to make more money is a very valid problem, and they do need a solution to that. And that solution does result in them altering their licensing system in a way that generates them more revenue at the cost of the devs or the cost of the consumer, because someone has to pay.
Yeah,
This game engine costs money. Someone has to pay.
yeah. And
This is indisputable.
And beyond that, obviously, it becomes a semantic of how much, who, where, when,
Yeah.
and so on.
And Unity's
that, I
proposition
think-
of that is dumb, but there is a conversation to be had there.
But yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make is just discounting a lot of the arguments I've seen,
Yeah.
you know, from great distance without reviewing in any way, of people
Yeah.
kind of being like, how dare Unity charge me money?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, they have to. So yeah.
Yeah. And
But
yeah.
the system they're using does seem to be a really bad system because of the way that it can be used against a game dev, the way it can be really difficult to track, etc., yada yada yada, blah 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 blah.
It strikes me that what Unity need to do is actually adopt a more Unreal style licensing structure.
Or just increase the prices on their current structure, at least to start with.
Maybe. I don't know if that would solve their problem.
No, I'm not saying to solve the problem, but just to buy them more time. Because if they need to make a change in 4 months,
Yeah.
charge more on your current structure, then start working out what the new, and in that time period, work out what your new structure is going to be. Don't introduce a brand new structure straight out the gate and so on.
Yeah. Unreal doesn't seem to go under and does not charge per install. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
different-
Unreal
yeah.
also has a massive amount of money pumped into it from Tencent.
I was about to say, yeah, I was going to say Unreal, by extension, Epic is a
Sorry, Epic has a whole bunch of
Yeah.
money pumped into it from Tencent,
yeah. So I don't know what
which then
their-
funds Unreal.
Yeah,
And every purchase on the Epic Store funds Unreal, effectively.
yeah. That's just it. I don't know how much the Unreal Engine is self-funding, because obviously, like, Epic's cost of business is more than just the cost of developing the Unreal Engine. So the question is, does the revenue of the engine alone cover the cost of developing the engine alone in a vacuum?
But also on the flip side, you look at what games are using Unreal. You've got Activision games selling a bajillion copies
Exactly.
using Unreal.
Yeah.
So Unreal can probably charge $1 bajillion on that
Exactly.
and cover an awful lot of their costs.
Yeah,
it's kind
they
of-
may well be fully sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would believe they are personally, because if they're not, then
yeah.
something is wrong.
But
it seems
also-
absurd to me that they wouldn't be. The Unreal as an engine in a vacuum is not self-sustaining.
I can see a situation where Unreal is in that crossover thing where it is technically sustaining, but is technically not sustaining, but actually is.
Yeah,
But there is certainly no profit and there is no growth on it or anything like that, because it is done at a pound for pound, not for profit, effectively
yeah,
process, because the company makes money
yeah,
by everyone having games that are
That's
Unreal,
it.
by everyone being on Epic, by everyone X so on and so forth, and all of those pounds are the actual profit pounds.
yeah. Because also some of it is difficult to classify as Rurutu said as well. You know, Hollywood is using Unreal to make movies now. There's all those kinds of niche applications of the Unreal Engine and stuff. And it's like, well, does that class as the engine earning revenue? Not really, because that's a consultancy thing. That's the product being used. So I wouldn't say that is raw income. How do you class that? So yes, it's difficult to quantify this, but
I think that's kind of more of a statement. It's just a fact of the raw engine cost to income would be roughly 1-to-1, and there is very little profit in it, and all of the profit and so on is from all of the things that enables, such as the store and so on.
The engine existing facilitates other incomes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the engine only has to break even because its existence facilitates other revenue sources.
Yeah, and also a case of effectively provides political leverage inside industries by being a 50% of industry sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah.
Right. I think I've enjoyed this conversation in English.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to tie up a little bit earlier than normal today. This day, on the day of our podcast, we're going to tie up a little bit earlier than usual because I have places to be this evening and I didn't want to run for 3 hours. So yes, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Are you going to bash into chat where you're going to be?
I am, yes. Just one final quick scan of the thing. Unreal Engine raw licensing is significantly higher than Unity. Yes, absolutely. Unity is the cheap option.
Oh yes.
Half-height 4060s. That's cool that's a thing that exists. Half-height cards are cool. That's impressive that there is a 4060 half-height. So yeah. What's next week? And I don't want to talk about it any further because I haven't thought about it.
Oh, cool. Gigabyte launches a low-profile 4060.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's right.
It's actually proper half-height.
Yep.
Cool.
And as in half-height, not compact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Right, if you want to hear more of my dumb voice, I will be streaming on Twitch tomorrow. I will be speedrunning Ori and the Blind Forest, or rather speed walking. And also, if you want to hear more of my dumb voice now, I will be live on my friend's Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/pagecartoons, who will be live at 7 p.m. UK time, so in approximately 40 minutes. I will be at Page Cartoons, and we're going to be playing Sea of Thieves. So if you want to hear more of me, I'll be guesting on my friend's stream, Page Cartoons, and we'll be playing Sea of Thieves. So I will see you guys there if you tune in. Otherwise, I'll be live on my channel tomorrow, and we'll be back next week with Extreme Overclocking.
As long as you 3D print the parts.
Yes, I will start working on that weekend. Do check in with me and nag me just to make sure I do it.
Yes.
Thanks. So yes. Harris.com chips in a $5. Thanks a lot, man.
My electric allocation runs out at 7 p.m. UK time.
Yeah.
The third world. It's okay, JD.
I'm working on it. It's
okay, JD. One day.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me because I'm on a pay meter as well.
No.
But yeah, something JD and South Africa. So yeah. I can only do an accent if I say the name of the country, which is incredibly racist. So on that note, it's time to go.
Acha. Blood Diamond. What a delightfully terrible film.
Bye.
Goodbye.
I'm finding the stop button immediately. End stream.
Toodles. See you next week.